All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The assignment that's due this week, feel free to turn it on Sunday. I will have a Zoom session tomorrow night at this time for anyone who needs extra help with the assignment. I don't expect you to fill it all out, okay? So please email me and let me know if you plan on coming. I'll try to have different examples from each of the different industries, and I'll record it for you guys. It's going to be short. All right, Deanna, it's yours.
All right. Well, everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. I just want to let you know that you're in for a treat tonight. Specifically love Tommy. Tommy is from LSU. I have a favorite basketball player. His name is Pete Maravich, and he graduated from LSU years ago, if you don't know basketball, but Tommy and I talk about that sometimes. That's way off topic, but tonight we're going to really focus on, the topic really is sales and branding, and the importance of branding yourself, and being the brand and all of that. And Tommy he wouldn't consider himself this, but he is an expert with all of that. So you're in for a treat tonight. Tommy, I'll let you introduce yourself, and I won't take up too much more time. But Tommy's going to kind of talk about a couple of ideas first off. And as he's talking, if you have questions, just post them in the chat and I'll keep track. And then we'll, after about 15-20 minutes, we'll move into the actual Q&A. So without further ado, Tommy, if you just tell us a little bit about yourself and then get started. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I just teach at LSU. I'm just a little instructor at the local university. I've been blessed to do this for many years, and I work with student athletes, many of them, and I work with students like you, and I just try to help kids and adults and people in a variety of courses, and that's kind of what I do. And I'm sitting around my office many years ago, just kind of doing what I'm telling you I'm doing, which isn't much. And I'll never forget one day this student knocks on my door, and just a little bitty knock, and you've had them at your businesses and you've had them in your life, and you don't know who they are. And this little kid, this is my word of honor, this little kid pokes his head in the room, and with the sweetest, the nicest little voice, he says, "Excuse me, but they tell me you can help me be a better speaker. Would you mind helping me?" I mean, what are you going to tell somebody? You don't know who they are. They're nice, little college kid. How innocent is that? And I'm busy doing nothing, but I'm busy doing nothing, but you shouldn't ignore them. So I'm like, sure, come on in, have a seat. I said, so I'm sorry, so what's the problem? He goes, well, they tell me I might have a good career when basketball is over, and they tell me you can help me be a better speaker because I think I need to be a better speaker. I'm like, well, that's an interesting request. I said, I'm sorry, tell me a little bit more about you. I'm sorry, but what's your name? He goes, my name is Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm a member of the LSU basketball team. And back then, he was Shaquille O'Neal. He wasn't Shaq, but he had heard about me, and he poked his head in, and voice was so nice. He was so gentle. I said, come in, and I guess luckily I did something right. And I greeted him. I said, have a seat. And he says he wants to be a better speaker because he has a good career, he thinks, when college is over. So we sit down, and I visit with this nice young kid. And I said, so what in particular don't you do well? And he told me this, which wasn't, because he says, here's the problem. I stutter. And I'm like, uh-oh, I just don't do stuff. I mean, stuttering is very, very difficult. It's hard. And I don't understand how I can't help. I mean, I just don't know how to do that. And I told him that. I said, but let me give it a shot. Let's just see what you can do. And so I got the old camera out, and I videotaped him a little bit and put him on tape because I wanted to be a good speaker, see if I can at least work around the stuttering or whatever. And as he's talking, he's telling me these stories about what he wants to do. And he would say things, and then all of a sudden he'd talk about, and then he'd stop and go, see, I stutter. That's my problem, I stutter. And I looked at the little freshman, this little kid, and I go, you call that stuttering? I said, you don't stutter. That's called mumbling. and you don't stutter. And I healed Shaquille O'Neal of stuttering because he didn't. He thought that when he mumbled a word or two, that he was stuttering. And I'm like, no. I said, actually, you're adorable when you do that. Well, we went from adorable to understanding this concept, and that's why they've asked me, and that's why I love helping whoever, and y'all in particular. I learned then, a long time ago, that this adorable little freshman had this personal brand that was what we're going to talk about for the next 19 and a half minutes. Shaquille O'Neal, as a freshman, had a personal brand that I discovered, and that was then and there. I said, enough of this public speaking stuff, although it's good. This personal branding piece is the ticket to financial and personal paradise. And the Shaquille O'Neal you see today, I'm telling you right now, because I got the footage, is the Shaquille O'Neal I saw as a freshman and worked with him and had the pleasure and the privilege of watching him evolve over time. I want you tonight, in my short little thing I'm going to do, to figure out what your personal brand is. And it's not about being perfect, and it's not about being exact. It's about creating a personal brand. And if you can see it on the board, I'm going to write it right here. I'm only writing 3 things on the board. It's called likability. Whether you're starting a business, whether you own a business, no matter what you're doing in business, and I hate to say this, it ain't just for business. Likability is not the like button on your little iPhone. I got a little flip phone here, so I know nothing about personal branding on that. I don't even know what it is. I don't know what social media is. But I know this, you can't be good on social media, you can't be good in selling, you can't be good in customer service, and you can't get people to come and do business with you if you're not likable. Likability is the emotional impact you have on somebody. The ability for that somebody, you pick who it is, at work, at home, and all stops in between. The banker, the investor, the customer, the vendor, it doesn't matter. Likability is the emotional impact you have on somebody. It's not just a cheesy smile. Everybody goes, I can't smile all day. You're not supposed to smile all day, but you're supposed to be likable all day. The emotional impact you have on somebody, the ability for somebody to look at you, like you, and say, you know something, I want to do business with that person. Or, you know, I had a bad relationship with them, but I think I can repair it. Or, that's the kind of person I want to talk good about. Likability, the emotional impact you have. That's the essence of personal branding. That's what Shaquille O'Neal had. And look what he's doing at Papa John's. Y'all realize Papa John's stock is just soaring. Okay, the pandemic or whatever it is helped a little bit. But before that, Shaquille O'Neal, the brand in the boardroom. And the brand, eating whatever pizza he invented, he's just got this personal brand. Now, you can't be Shaquille. I can't be Shaquille. But I promise you, you can create and figure out what your personal brand is that can still make you that attractive, engaging person who businesses want to do business with and customers want to get service from, and who a grumpy customer, who I'm going to teach you how to engage, embrace, and love, how that grumpy person is going to find value in you and become a loyal customer. If you understand these qualities, 38% of the emotional impact you have, 38%. Miss 38 on an exam, what do you get? Well, you get a bad grade. Come to LSU, I give you a curve, I give you a B. Well, they don't give you, your customer ain't giving you a B. 38's a lot. So what do you think? 38% of the ability for you to be seen as likable, to be able to get that customer to come to your side, to get that banker, that investor, get whoever it is to side with you. 30, or if you don't do it right, they'll go to the competition. We call it switching. So what do you think 38% of the emotional impact you have is judged according to? And I'll tell you the answer, because lovingly, you don't have the right answer. You're thinking of the wrong thing. It's vocal delivery. My friends, your tone of voice matters. Not being a great speaker. We're not talking about being articulated, a great orator, although that's nice. That ain't it. A tone of voice that sounds like you're compassionate, you care, you're concerned about that individual. I look back and trust me, I knew what a gift it was that day. I remember vividly when it was, a simple little morning. This kid said, excuse me, can you help me? I don't know. I promise you, I didn't know who he was. And back then he wasn't Shaq, he was Shaquille O'Neal. And luckily I said in exchange, sure, come on in. I could have said, what? But luckily, I accidentally was good. I mean, it was good. And so my tone drew him in. His tone drew him in. And together, I'm sorry, but a great friendship was born. Tone of voice can chase them away. Tone of voice can lure them in. And it's going to be that simple little hello when you didn't want to do hello. How can I help you when you do hello? What do you need? And sound like you care. You've got to sound like you care. You can't be bitter. You can't be whiny. You can't be mechanical. You can't be boring. We all in the problem, and I don't want to make this customer service, but customer service we can relabel it. But I always tell this story. What makes a good doctor? They're all, maybe with this virus they're not, but they're all going to get you well in most cases. This is a tricky thing, but in most cases, but yet we will drop a doctor. Y'all cut them up on evaluations. They're going to get you well. But if they don't give you good bedside manners, you're going to crush them and go somewhere else. Why? Because they're going to get you well. It's more than getting you well. Then the doctors tell me, I work with doctors now. They go, well, I get them well. I save their lives. I'm like, somebody else could. But you didn't sound like you cared, the family in the room. Anyway, that's bedside manners, and it's not reserved for doctors. Customer service, forget all this stuff about customers. I'm just telling you what customers, if you can sound like you care to that customer who doesn't sound like they appreciate you, you have won. It's easy to give love to the customer who gives love to you, but can you give love to the customer who's grumpy? And if my answer becomes yes, you watch your financial growth. You watch your customer loyalty. You watch your word of mouth. You watch all those other, whatever they call those things that indicate that you're successful. Everybody can give love to those who love you, but can you give love to those who don't act like they love you? And that's what you got to be able to do. And that's why tone of voice matters. That's why you got to be able to understand, hear it, and you will be good. This is why they ask me to come every year to Syracuse, which I love. And anytime they ask me to do something, if I can, I will. Because I love them. They're wonderful. What they're doing for y'all is incredible. But this is it. This is the only reason they want me, by the way, is this piece right here. Because this is good stuff. 55%. That's a lot. I missed 55 on an exam. What do you get? Well, we give you a C. We graduate. At LSU, we graduate everybody. You just give us a shot. We're getting you out of here. Anyway, we're the dumbest state in the country. We've got to look like we're smarter than we are. But anyway, 55% of the most impact you have. 55 is visual. Vocal, there's one key to remember. It's called tone. In visual, there's only one thing to remember. It's not gestures. It's not your dress. It's not your posture. It's not eye contact. All those are good. But that ain't it. You do this, and it's a quadruple your money back guarantee. Everything in your life, from home to work and all stuff in between, gets a little bit more better, and that's good Louisiana language. Because it's already good, it's going to be a little bit more better. 55% of the most impact you have is visual delivery, and we're talking about facial expression. And when we talk about facial expression, we talk about your default look. Your default look is that everyday look you get when you're not talking. The default look is the everyday look you get when you're not talking. And in today's virtual world, you're not talking. You're in one of these gallery photo things, and people are looking at you the whole time while you're bored to tears, and they make this a judgment of you. Customers see you from across the room, and they see how you really are. And then when y'all make eye contact, you light up. They've already seen you. You've blown your cover. You're not likable. They're going to form these opinions of you. Your default look, my dear precious friends, and I don't say that cornyly, I say that genuinely. You've got to figure out what it is. I don't know if you can see me on the Zoom thing. I'm going to lean forward so you can. I am a nice guy. I have a big heart. I have a gentle soul. I am lovable. Oh, no, I'm not. Everybody who sees me thinks I'm one mean dude. You know why? Because my default look is the worst. According to ESPN and Sports Illustrated, I have the worst default look in America. You won't see me ever again, but if you ever were to see me, this is my default look of absolute happiness. You want some of this? I walked around LSU for 24 years happy. I'll give you everything I got plus 10%. Nobody ever said, you talk about the default look, yours is miserable. All they said was, all you wear are khaki pants and white shirts. I'm like, okay, I wear khaki pants and white shirts. Why did you tell me I don't change that? I should have changed my default look. They try to give me a new wardrobe, give me glasses, grow a beard, drive a new car. No, my default look was this. I'm here to tell you, yours can't be that. You cannot give good customer service if that's it. You can't convince a banker, an investor, a friend. You can't be as influential and impactful if you look miserable. You can be intense. I got it. Everybody says, I'm a veteran. I used to do all the hard stuff. I said, I got it. But now you're in a different environment. You can still be tough. That's good. But the default look has to be engaging. You don't walk around with a smile. I'm not saying smile, but I'm saying you can't have a Tommy Karam default look. So, Deanna, may I give them homework? Okay, y'all have homework. Here's your homework. Figure out your default look tonight. When I finish rambling and you go home, here's how you do it. Let's just pretend this is a mirror right here. See that little square right there? That's a mirror. You go home, I guess you're home now, but you tell your loved ones, I love you. Just give me 3 minutes. I got homework. Forget about that hard homework for Sunday. This is more harder. I want you to go to a room, close the door, walk up to the mirror. This is a mirror. You see that little square right here? Okay. I want you to walk up to the mirror, but don't look. That look you give me right now on the Zoom lens, that's your default look. Sorry, but that's it. I want you to freeze it. I want you to turn. I want you to look in the mirror. If you flinch, and based on what I see lovingly, you will, and that's okay. You need to tweak your default look. Because my friends, they're going to see you in these, we call them thin slices. And if you're not engaging and likable, they're not going to be as inclined to do business and forgive and listen and all the other great things that we do in business. When you look in that mirror tonight and your default look looks like hopefully not like mine, but it's not, then you got to change it. And the way you change it is simply this. It's corny. I do it all the time, and it works. I do it. Every athlete I talk to, and there are many, and all these business people, and there are many, you tweak it. You look in the mirror by yourself. There's nobody in the room. And when you look and you flinch, okay, you say to yourself, I need to fix it. It's easy. Now, you don't go back to work tomorrow with a look like that on your face, because that's not authentic. But you take that muscle right here, and you move it, and you tweak it just a bit, and you figure out where is it that softens you a little bit. And it's a universal answer. When you feel it, everybody goes, wow, that's it. Wow, that was simple. Yes, it's simple. And the reason we don't change it is because we think about what it's going to look like. And when we think about it, it feels like a cheesy smile. But tonight, in about an hour from now, you're going to see the truth. And the truth is going to do what? It's going to make your default look better. And it's going to make everything you do just a little bit more better. So my dear friends, this is not corny. It's not childlike. It's a quadruple your money back guarantee. And the list of those who have tweaked it is astronomically impressive. So do it. Do it because it's going to make everything you do, I think, have more influence and more impact. So how does that apply to y'all? Well, yes, you're going to be more engaging. And yes, they're going to see you in what we call this thin slice. This thin slice says that in something as quick as 1/24th of a second, somebody can see you and formulate an opinion of you. The thin slice goes anywhere from 1/24th of a second to 15 seconds. Well, you say nothing, but they see you. Is that not, unfortunately, this came in the 60s, is that not the Zoom world of today? But you don't live in a Zoom world. You live in a real world. So whether you're on a screen or whether you're in a meeting or whether you're at your facility, your business, or whether you're doing business in somebody else's facility, they will see you walking down the hall. They will see you crisscrossing. They will see you somewhere, and they will formulate these opinions of you. I never said smile. I'm not saying smile, but it has to be engaging. For the record, I learned that my default look was terrible 24 years ago. Worse than that is, it's still not any good. The athletes still tell me, the students still tell me it's not any good. Okay, it ain't about me. My career is not over, but it's not about me. It's about you. You got so many great opportunities ahead of you, no matter how old you are or how new you are in the business. It's time, and when you tweak it, it's not this transformation. It's just this subtle little change, and people see it in a refreshing way. So why is that important? Well, it's important for a lot of reasons. People want to do business with people who are likable. Doctors, even though they give nothing but bad news, because that's what doctors do, they heal sick people. So you can be serious as you do it, but here's the trick for the night. The trick for the night is once you figure out your default look, and once you start to hear that your tone of voice has to sound like you care and interesting, even though it's the same thing you do over and over. By the way, everybody, no matter who you are in your profession, we do the same thing over and over, and you can't make it sound like it's over and over. You got to make it sound like, I'm sorry, they do it so well. They're overrated, they're very expensive, but they do it well. The people at Chick-fil-A. They say my pleasure to everybody all day long. They don't see you except in a car or on a microphone, and they make you feel like you're the most special. They don't care. But everybody waits in line in Baton Rouge for 3 hours for a $7 chicken nugget, and they are as happy as they can be because of two. My pleasure. Every person all day long. I'm not saying that's the reason for their success, but I'm saying if you don't think 2 words matter, go to their rivals and they go, what do you want? Or maybe they say nothing. Go to a doctor, go to an engineer, go to a customer. Okay, that's tone of voice. You got to do it. It's not a long burst like I'm rambling right now. It's that simple, can I help you? Yes. How about this hard word? No. There's a way to say no, because sometimes we have to say no. But you can say no to where they don't hate you. In that thin slice, your brand can be destroyed. So be careful. In that thin slice, your brain can be lifted. So be aware. So as I flip it, this is easy. What I'm here to tell you now is hard. And I'll try to give it to you in a few moments, and then we can chat. I've spent this little bit of time telling you about your personal brand. If you want your personal brand to be likable, you must, absolutely must, understand 38 and for sure 55. You must understand tone. You must understand default look because they never separate. They're always with you everywhere you go. But we don't talk about the person across the table from you. We don't talk about the customer, the employee who you're trying to keep there and not go somewhere else. Your friend, somebody in their family, it doesn't matter. Because what do you want from the person across from you? I want them to reciprocate and to be nice. I sound nice, you sound nice. I look happy, you look happy. Come to me, loving, and I'll give you love like you've never seen. But we don't do that. What we do is we're nice to the ones who are nice, and if they're mean, we're mean. If their tone of voice is grumpy, we're grumpy. And my dear friends, I say this with all the professional academic love in my heart, that is a fatal mistake. Don't overreact to the default look of the tone of the individual across from you. Should they be nice? Yes. Are they nice? Probably not. Does it mean they're going to hate you because they sound grumpy? No, they never took this class. Does it mean they hate you because they look miserable? No, they never taken this class. They don't know their default look is miserable. And even if they do, it means nothing. I'm here to tell you, and you can go chart this. I don't do analytics, but go chart it. Go chart seeking out the person who looks miserable. What do you want? Has that, that sour, deplorable look? You know the one. The customer you just hate, although they pay you good money that keeps things rolling, you know who they are. Go to that person and give that person everything I'm telling you tonight. Give it to them. Don't expect it in return, but know in their heart and in their mind and their memory, you're leaving an indelible impression. I want to do business with that kid, that guy, that lady over there. That's what they're going to say, and maybe they don't even do business with you. There's this thing called word of mouth. They may not do business with you, but they may tell somebody that even though they don't, this is a company, this is an individual, this is a firm I may want to be a part of. It's the hardest thing. When I go to Syracuse, we do it. We can do it in front of each other. It's a little easier that way, but you can do it here. I should spend more time on this, but I don't, and I don't want to bore you. But I'm going to say this. Is it a challenge? Yes. People want to pick the fight. Don't pick the fight. Let the mean people be mean. It doesn't mean anything, because here's what usually happens. We misread. We misread mean. Okay, mean is mean. Don't do it. I'm telling you, manage this. But the person across the table from you doesn't know about this. And because they sound angry, because they look angry, and maybe even because they are angry or disgruntled or non-concerned or unappreciative, it doesn't mean that you're not leaving a positive imprint and impact in their future decision-making. And here's the danger. You give all your love and all your attention to that person who sounds good and looks good and shows their appreciation, and they smile and they say thank you, and they're going out the door and they're talking bad about you, and they ain't never coming back. They're good, or maybe they're not. The one who's grumpy is good, or maybe they're not. My advice to you is this, and it's pretty good advice. I'm sorry. Don't overreact to the default look and the tone of voice of the person across from you. And lovingly, body language is the hardest language in the universe. So don't try to figure it out. Somebody crosses their arms and they look at you like this. You're going, well, they're mean. No, this is probably the most comfortable position in the world. Somebody looks at their watch while you're talking, they look at their phone while you're talking, and you go, how rude. Nope, they wanted to look at their phone. They want to look at their watch. They felt like yawning. Let them yawn. You want to reason, because we do this. I do it too. I teach and I get mad when students look at their computer, but I try not to be mad. And I try. Well, don't let it bother you. I know people who've destroyed their brands, who throw and get anger, throw people out of the room. Pay attention. Don't yawn. Don't. Let them. Let them. You should never do it. Let them. I'm not saying it's right, but what do you want to do? Yell and scream and lecture somebody who got tired, who looked at their watch, who may be hungry? I hate to tell you this. That's the look they always give before they make a big purchase decision and give their money to somebody. That's the look they always give before they invest in somebody. The people who I know who are wonderfully good people have the most miserable default look. They look like this the whole time. They'll sit like this the whole time. While you're presenting, they'll do this the whole time. They'll do all this stuff. And if you can weather all of these, what you would call negative, uncaring distractions, you got to know that beneath it all is a person, and that's just how they behave, and that's how they think, and that's the decision making. There's your challenge for the day. There's your homework after you figure out your default look tonight, is not to be so judgmental and to get angry, because what happens, the danger is we mirror the person across from us. They're angry, we're angry. They're mad, we're mad. They come up mean, we're going to be mean. I'm going to say, if you get in your mind that the default look of the person across from you, whoever that person is, it means nothing. What means everything is that you maintain tone of voice and a default look. It can be serious or whatever it wants to be, but it's something that's inviting, it's likable, it's engaging, and it speaks to who you are. And in the case we're talking about tonight, it's a reflection on your business, because you are an extension of your business. The people who work for you need to hear this. So you have to tell them this. The people who work for you, you've got to give them a 12-minute customer service training, and the customer service training is simply what I just told you. Their default look and their tone of voice has to be likable, no matter how grumpy the other person is. They're not grumpy. They said, miserable default looks like me. You've got to train them, and then all of a sudden, you're giving great customer service. Even if they decide not to purchase from you, they're going to go out, because we talk before social media, we talk now. Word of mouth has been around forever, and it's never going away. And you're going to create a great brand for yourself, and you're going to create a great brand for your company. And part of that is the service you provide. Absolutely. The part is you're going to have failure, meaning customer service failure. Everybody does. And when that happens, you or somebody's going to be trained to walk up to that angry person, to maintain poise and calmness, solve their problem, give them something to make them happy. And it's usually not money, by the way. But if you have a delivery where you're likable, they're going to be more forgiving. If you have a delivery and they like you, you're going to form a bond and a friendship and customer loyalty that's going to lift your reputation of your company and the financials of your company and make you a more comfortable, more effective boss in person, both at work and at home. So that's enough for now. If you have any questions, let me know. But if not, I must beg you. Yes, I beg. Down south, we beg. I beg you to do your homework whenever your class is over tonight. Turn around, go to the room that has a mirror. Look in that mirror. By yourself. Do not ask anybody at home to evaluate you. They lied before. They'll lie again. They love you, so they're going to lie to you. Tonight's the night to tell the truth, and the truth's going to make your personal brand better. Look in that mirror, tweak that default look, practice it in the morning, and here's how you can grade yourself. If you wake up tomorrow morning and the muscle right here is sore, you have found the gold mine of personal success. If it's not sore, practice it again tomorrow. Practice as you're driving. Practice as you're crossing people in the hallway. Practice as you're sitting in a Zoom meeting. Practice it and let it become the natural default of engagement and likability, becomes part of what your brand is all about.
Drop mic right there. Drop mic. So if you have questions, go ahead and post them or raise your hand, and you can ask them. But I've got a question, since you were just to get us started, Tommy. Since you were just you briefly touched on it, kind of about failure and recovery and how you recover. Can you expand a little more on that?
Yeah, failure and
recovery.
Yeah, failure and recovery, I think, is the greatest thing going in the world, and nobody embraces it. And we talk about failure, there are multiple levels of failure. The failure I'm talking about is, and there's a lot of research on this, customer service failure. You may have been a little hard on somebody, or the service was late and didn't get there, or the food wasn't as good as you wanted it to be. Anyway, when the customer doesn't get what they want and they're angry, that's failure. In the airline business, we know what failure is. They overbook and you get bumped, or they lose your bag. And there's failure. So that's all failure. I'm not talking about spectacular disasters. We're just talking about that's failure in the service industry. Y'all know this in the food business. Even if you're a customer, if they don't fill your order right, and you get home and all of a sudden the bag is missing something, you hate them forever. Your service drops. They overcharge you, and you're mad. To me, they're mean in the waiting room. Not that you're the person you're going to go see, but the receptionist or somebody who works is mean to you. Those are all elements of failure. Fair? Okay. With failure comes a grumpy customer. How in the world? Why? Okay, you got it. I don't like that. I live in a sheltered life. I'm thin-skinned. I'm a coward. I'm very sensitive. I don't like it. But guess what? I now embrace it. I want it. I want the person who's failed. I want the person who's mad. And here's why. The research is overwhelming. It says that anybody who's engaged, who's experienced failure, if they can be confronted, not confronted, but if somebody from management can talk to them and listen to them and look like they care about their ridiculous complaint and sound like they care about that ridiculous complaint and offer something as simple as, look, I am so sorry. And next time you come, call me and we'll let you in first in line. They don't want, the research says that you don't have to give them money. Money would help, but you don't have to. You may bring them, example, as a restaurant, you may bring them a complimentary glass of wine or Coca-Cola or a cup of coffee and a dessert or an extra salad, or walk them to the door and apologize one more time. It's overwhelming. They say companies that have a response to failure, service failure, leave an indelible imprint, and it becomes one of the great memories with that organization. That's why failure is, that's why you have to embrace it. I don't know if you're the one who can do it, but somebody in your organization has to do it. And if you're the manager or the owner, not that you're seeking out but you don't want to run from them. Are they going to yell and scream? Yeah. Is it right? No. But if you can confront it, absorb it, and then manage your default, look, think of something you can do to show that you care. So Delta Airlines, and now they wish they had, Delta Airlines a couple of years ago sent everybody who works at Delta Airlines, from baggage handlers to pilots, through a training program, a customer service training program. Now, what's the purpose of an airline? To land the plane safely, to land the 300 people in a $20 million aircraft safely and don't kill them all. That's what they're supposed to do. Nope, not in customer service evaluation forms. Were they on time? Were the people handing out the candies nice enough? You want 2 peanuts, they only gave you 1. They said, no, you can't refill. And then they'll cut you up. They sent everybody through customer service training. Why? Because whenever you're checking your bags and you see whoever it is checking your bag and they sling it, you're upset. They're not slinging your bag, they're slinging somebody else's bag, but it looks like they're slinging your bag, and all of a sudden you say they don't take care of the luggage. When you check in, there are millions of people, thousands of people go through it's hard to say, can I help you, can I help you, can I help you? But you have to, because that one point of contact can be deadly. When you get on the plane and you want an extra peanut, what do they call them? The attendants, they got a job to do. Safety is number 1, food is number 2. We think food is number 1 and safety is not even it. That's okay, but that's how they're evaluated. If you're going to be late and you're going to miss a flight, okay, all of that they send them to customer service training. and they learn this. If you complain at Delta Airlines, they're not going to give you a free voucher for a free round trip ticket around the world. All they want to hear is, look, we tried to get you on the other plane. We can't. There goes your plane and there goes your luggage. But look, we're sorry, but we'll try to get you on the next available. The fact that you have, the answer is this, the fact that you in your industry can figure out a problem and have an attempt not to resolve the actual problem that happened, you'll do that, but to make the apology. To make the apology and to compensate in some way. And I don't know what the compensation is. Usually the compensation is to pick up the phone, answer the call, and say you're sorry. And if you have the money to a certain degree, you repair it. So the classic example of service failure is United Airlines, who, by the way, they're now getting rid of, y'all just heard, all the airlines are not going to charge you anymore for changing your flight. You know how much they made last year on flight changes and in the penalty for cancellations? Y'all ready for this? This is a Wall Street Journal number. How much money they make, all the airlines combined last year in flight cancellations and airline changes? $2.8 billion. That's just me changing my what if an airline prior to now had waived that? What if Delta a year ago had waived that and said, you got to change it, that's failure. You got to book it, you got the wrong date, that's failure. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to move to the next day. So you got to think, my dear friends, you got to think of what you can do. And it doesn't have to be always money out of the pocket. It's this little exchange. But it doesn't work if you're not genuine, and it doesn't work if you don't confront that disgruntled customer. So embrace it, and remember this, I'm being repetitive here, but a great recovery leads to usually a great memory of the encounter. Oh, and by the way, this is the academic research. If you think about it, it may have tricked you with it one time. Some companies are so good at this, they fail on purpose. I'm sorry, you wanted the filet mignon and we brought you the porterhouse. Forgive me. Enjoy that. I'm bringing a porterhouse for you. I'm so sorry. Okay, that's a good. I don't know what their failure is. Or you want it right? But some fail in a minor way on purpose because the recovery is so legendary and memorable. You remember that and you go back and back and back. So embrace failure. You don't want it, but failure is a customer who's had a bad experience and somebody's got to resolve it. And the companies that can do this without getting in a fight with the customer and maintain a great disposition and think clearly are going to leave a lasting impression.
Thank you very much for that answer. I've got a continuation question here, kind of moving into, I know we've really kind of talked about, how you can be the brand. We've talked about a little bit, on failure and recovery. So when we're talking about the customers, obviously when you fail and you don't recover properly, that could be a reason that a customer decides to switch companies or to switch businesses. What are some other reasons that customers decide to switch from one business to the next?
Okay, I'm going to give you this is pure. Forgive me, this is pure academic, but it's perfect. So the Wharton Business School, the #1 business school in the country, released this survey several years ago. I'm actually talking about it next Tuesday in our marketing class. This is a brilliant question. Customers switch for these following reasons. Rank order. Number 1, service failure. It just wasn't any good. Whatever it was, they dropped the calls, the flowers were terrible, the carpentry work wasn't any good, the software didn't work. Service failure. They call it core service failure. But if you understand that it's core service failure, you try to repair it. Second reason they switch is poor customer service encounter failure. Everything we just talked about. Service encounter failure. The customer, the employee who I'm dealing with, you're ready to hold on to this, get ready for this one. So one is the product you're providing isn't any good. Maybe you can correct it, maybe you replace it. If not, they're switching. That's number one, that makes sense. Number two is customer service encounter failure. Who the customer is dealing with, they're rude, they're inattentive, I don't have a lot of money, so they pay me no time of day, they're abrasive, they ignore me, they make me wait too long. Or the last reason is they may not be knowledgeable enough. In other words, you say you're a software champion, your people have to be smart. I don't do technology, but so I go places if I ever buy any. So somebody can tell me about technology. You got to have knowledge. That's why I love Walmart. I love Walmart. But I will not buy anything of tech or because that they don't do real well. So they're not knowledgeable there. So the knowledge level, that level of expertise you have, it needs to be there. So that's the reason people switch. The third reason people switch, price. Price matters, but it's third. If you're too high, unless there's quality beyond reproach, or you're ready for this, this is my flaw, you're too low. You're too low, they think you're cheap. What's wrong? I'm Mr. Free. I'm free parking. I'm free. It's nice, but there's a flaw in being free. It's like, well, he'll get him, nobody else will. He only charges like $3 an hour, and all these other consultants charge $285 an hour. So if you're too cheap, even though the heart is gold, that's all it's going to be gold. Then the problem is they're going to think there's a flaw in your product. So you got to be able to figure out price. Y'all know that too high, too low, but you got to figure it out. But the other purpose behind price, so the Wharton study shows, the other purpose behind price is it may be deceptive pricing. It may be unethical pricing. It may be, we get this nowadays with all this dynamic pricing. Well, yesterday it was $39 and today it's $49. Louisiana just experienced, this devastating tornado, a hurricane. And now everything is expensive. Well, some things deserve to be expensive, but I'm 4 hours away from the hurricane, and every tree you want to chop down in Baton Rouge, they've doubled. Well, the tree companies are going to suffer because this is called exploitation. This isn't the area that got hurt. So you got to be careful. You can take advantage if there's a shortage. That's one thing. So exploitation, unethical behavior, not being trustworthy in your invoicing, they will switch for that. So pricing is the third reason. And the fourth reason is not place that everybody thinks, it's inconvenience. You may have the greatest location, but they can't get out and turn left. You may have the greatest location, but it takes forever to get to your place. You have the greatest location, but there's no parking when you get there. Inconvenience is a fourth reason why customers switch. So this is all, if you think about it, in my world, it makes sense. It's almost perfect the way I think, although I put price number one. That's just me. But then they have other factors, unethical behavior about the company or traction by the competition. But the four controllable ones are make sure your service is good, make sure the people can provide good service, and part of that is their knowledge of the product. They're experts, they know enough about it. Number three, decide on a pricing strategy, not necessarily too high or too low, but also fair pricing. And failure is this: the bill is wrong. I am so sorry, the bill is wrong. I'll make that correction. And I'll tell you, if you want to knock them out, you got to figure this out yourself. But if you want to this happened to us about a year ago, and it still leaves an indelible impression. We got horrible customer service at a very nice, emotional dinner, a family dinner. It was terrible. It was my mother's, and all the kids were there. All this, y'all been through all this. It was terrible. Service was bad. The food was bad. The waiter was horrible. And nobody complained. We don't complain. Somehow, as we're leaving, the owner knew it wasn't good. We tipped 20%, as we always do. We don't call the owner and run them down. We didn't do it. As we're leaving, the owner runs down, my brother who coordinated everything, and he goes, "Excuse me," and we're all listening to this. "I am so sorry." He goes, "For what? This is not the experience we want you to have." We did not flinch. We didn't complain. Nobody argued anything. It was just a bad day, but we were well behaved as a family. We paid the bill, tipped well, left, go Tigers. That was it. The owner somehow knew it wasn't right, He's a one-man show. It's downtown. It's a nice little upscale restaurant, which we usually don't do. He ran us down. He didn't comp us a meal. I mean, the ticket was already paid. He told my brother, we just overheard it. I overheard it. He says, I am so sorry. This is not how we do it. You come back another time. Please give me another chance. How about that? Now, when you get to that level of that guy, that little one-man operation, and you're successful in this Baton Rouge town where everybody lives on food, you figure that out in your industry, you get that aware of what's going on, you will resolve failure recovery, and you have mastered customer service. And people, they'll switch. They'll switch from the company across the street to you. And they won't switch leaving you to go to the company across the street.
Thank you. I'm still open to anybody else that wants questions. I still have a ton. I always have a ton of reserve to keep us going. And sometimes you just don't, know the right questions to ask.
If you don't have a question, you're not hurting my feelings at all.
No.
I'm okay with it. My answers aren't the best. This stuff.
No, yes, they are.
No, they're not. They're really not. Because they know the trick is they know the answer. You know the answer. The answer Shaquille O'Neal gave y'all. It's called imperfection. Imperfection means you don't have to be perfect at everything. Okay, the diagnosis, yes, or something like that. The electricity can't blow up a building. But you got to just be yourself. Y'all know how to be nice people. You know how to tell somebody, look, I'm sorry. You know how to say, I didn't mean it that way. You know how to say, I don't know if it bothered you, but it bothered me. Are you ready for this one? You know how to call somebody the next day. I double dog dare you to pick up the phone and call somebody who may have had a bad experience a day or two later, or do what this guy did at my house about 5 years ago. And I talk about him in class all the time. We built a brand new house. This is 8 years ago. Built a brand new house. Everything's great, I thought. But my wife says, oh no. He didn't do she's very attentive to the ADA and the handicap accessible stuff. The house is flat, she's very careful of that, but we didn't put the slope. I mean, it's like a lip about an inch. Nope. I wanted it, we need it in case anybody comes and we want you to flow in. I'm like, you got to be kidding. It's this. But I said, okay. So I called this guy. This guy came out, and he's the best concrete guy in Baton Rouge. I didn't use him for the project. I said, here's the deal. Can you just do this little 2-inch lip right here? On 3 entries to the house? He goes, wow, people don't even have, what you have is great, but this is not even, he goes, I know, but my wife, she's into those, she cares. Can you just pour a little concrete right there? He goes, sorry, it's not that easy. You got to cut it back. You got to do all this stuff. I'm like, for an inch? I said, she'll never know. Let's just do it. And she goes, I can't do that. I said, how much to cut it back and do the, whatever y'all call that, elevation, or whatever, that's not the right word, for this little 1 inch. So if anybody walks, you close your eyes, you can shuffle your feet, and into any part of our house you go. He says, well, I can do it, but it's going to cost this amount of money. I'm like, I'm like, he goes, look, I agree. It's a lot of money, but you can't do it to do the slope. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking of every angle to deceive my wife. And I said, okay, let's do it. So he does it. And sure enough, it's like, I probably this much of concrete for a 1 inch thing anyway, we did it. The man said, what do you think? Go get your wife. What do you think? I'm like, this is good. It's expensive, but it's good. My wife is happy. That's it. Go Tigers is over. No big deal. I mean, she's very happy. Don't get me wrong. She's appreciative. I'm sitting there every time I go up this. I'm like, it's a lot of money for this little slope that anybody, even who's handicapped disabled, could make this little bump. I'll write the check. That's it. Life goes on.
Tommy,
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A week later, the man's truck pulls up again.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness, my check bounced. Now I'm embarrassed. I mean, I'm going to pay the man. I'm like, oh no, I don't balance my checkbook. I just thought, I said my checkbook. Oh God, I'm so embarrassed now. He knows my brother. Oh my goodness, the check bounced. The man pulls up in his little legendary concrete pickup truck. And I'm like, what's going on? How's everything going? He goes, everything's fine. I just came by. I want to see how happy your wife is. I'm like, what? I just came by to see how you're doing, really and truly, but make sure your wife's okay with this. I'm like, is that the most incredible thing you've ever seen? He didn't say, here's 20% back. He didn't say, I overcharged you. He said, I'm just checking on you. I can see you struggle a little bit there. I just want to make sure you're okay. Big guy, you know, that one of these guy things, and make sure your wife's happy. How about that? You tell me I do concrete once in a lifetime, but I recommend this guy every time somebody does concrete. That, my friends, is follow-up. There was no failure. That is good customer service. That's customer appreciation. No, that's a good man with a good person with a good heart. Y'all got it. You got to tap into it. You got to be creative, and you got to use it.
Tommy, when I know you're not great at math, but could you talk a little bit about benefits minus costs equals customer value, since you're kind of talking about you know, how important the customer is right now and the risks that we have to take.
Yeah. So to make it, and a friend of mine who's a whiz at all this, simplified it, saying that customer value is benefits minus cost. Okay. So the cost is X amount. So how many benefits can you do? What can you think in the way of value creation can justify this cost? Okay, in the airline industry, flying first class is expensive. So the cost is big, correct? What's the benefit? It's real simple. I'm first one on that plane, therefore I'm the first one off that plane, and therefore I get to my meeting that's very, very critical on time. The benefit is I'm flying this person first class because I want them to feel like they're the most special person on the plane, and if they fly first class for this extra $400, they're going to think they're special, and they're more likely to renew or sign this contract and do business with me. The benefit of first class, when they close that little drape and take the plastic cup and turn it into crystal cup, those are the benefits. You've got to be able to think about what the benefits are, and you've got to be able to provide those benefits. And if the benefits outweigh the cost, then you're creating customer value. That's what makes Amazon so sensational, I think. They create customer value that the next day delivery. Okay, that's a bad example. A better example is a poor company, even though they make a lot of money, Taco Bell. In Baton Rouge, if you go to Taco Bell, there's nobody in line there except the Karams, my family. Everybody else is Chick-fil-A. We're going to say, because I get value at Taco Bell. Let me tell you what you get for $5. $5. I feed my whole family. For $5, we take my whole family to Taco Bell. Forgive me, this is the truth. I hate to tell y'all, but I do. We split a drink when they were young. We split a drink. We get 3 burritos, and we cut it in half. I eat when I get home. The kids know no better. The benefits are these. The food is terrible. It's bad. It's unhealthy for you. But the kids get their drink. They get a big sandwich. They leave full. We're happy, and we move on. So these restaurants, so you can be cheap, you can be inexpensive, but the benefits, you get something that fulfills what you want. It satisfies certain needs. And when you walk away, you feel like you've gotten value. So there's value to cheap, there's value to luxury. Your job is to be able to create. I work at LSU, and the big deal is this: if you can get a seat, if you can own a suite in a stadium, everybody has these. They're expensive. I don't have one. My friends have. Well, a friend has one. They're like $90,000. Every school is the same. $90,000 to watch a football game. That's the cost. What are the benefits? I'm in a very elite area. It never rains. There's whiskey. There's food. All you want. You can have 12 people with you. You get a private bathroom. You get internet service. You got air conditioning. You're around who's who. You get a parking spot. You get a ticket. You get memories. And the president of the university walks around, takes a picture with you at every game. There's always a celebrity drops in your box and takes a picture with you. And for some reason, those benefits, through the research they've done, is what these people pay dearly for: access and visibility. So that's the ability for you, with your good business mind, to create the benefits and provide those for the customer. That's why some restaurants have these certain things they do that creates value. Why do you pay $40 for a steak? Well, you're not paying just $40 for a steak. Maybe they have other benefits attached that justifies, and maybe that's the right word. what justifies that cost, and that creates customer value. Benefits minus cost and value. Now, if the cost is big and the benefits are little, you're going to think, you feel like you didn't get value, and you may look somewhere else.
Thank you, Tommy. We have a question from Ogwo. Can you wave, Ogwo, so he can see who you are? So he's wondering, you know, as we're talking about customers and determining their needs, you know, you can go and talk to customers and you know, give them a survey or send something out. But his really question is, how can you determine that you've talked to enough customers or have a good enough view of your customers' needs towards your business? Like, when is enough enough? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what enough is enough. And it can be it can become very expensive. But to hire a company to do this marketing research, which is what you're talking about, I think, and I'll admit, I don't have a good answer here, but I overheard it before we started. You can do little surveys. You can ask customers what they want. Now, you don't want to respond just to one customer, but I'm a big believer. If you ask, not everybody, now I never read surveys. For the record, I always say, I've only read 2 surveys in my whole academic career of teaching. One said I was good, one said I was useless. And both hurt my feelings. One made me feel good, one, I don't do it. That's terrible. It's terrible. I teach 700 kids. You think if I'd read their surveys, I'd be a good teacher. So if you have that population, use it. Now, I can't do it. I can't take the criticism, and I don't do it. That's terrible. But if you can ask enough people to get a feel, but you got to use your judgment. And the reason I don't do surveys, so I'll listen to one person, they say something bad, I'll quit doing it, I'll retire. So you got to be careful when you get that. I'm rambling here because I don't have a good answer, except, and I heard y'all say this before we started, talk to the customer.
So
don't, if they say one thing, don't just do it. I mean, they say it's good, it may be, but double check it. But I think you've got to ask. You've got to ask the customers, and you got to be smart enough to process what they tell you. Right now, I think the world is over evaluating. For me, everything, hang up. When you finish this call, would you please evaluate so-and-so? Just for the record, if you get me on the phone, I'm not doing an evaluation if I got bad service. Because I'm not going to hurt that person, even though I may be mad at it. There's no way in the world I'm giving that person a bad mark and hurt their careers. The only time I'm doing it is if it's good. And let me tell you what the mistake is in feedback. We never listen to what's good. So my answer to you would be this: not to ignore what's bad, but to don't ignore what's good, and whatever is good, elevate it. And in evaluations, if we were together, and I know this, I do this all the time. So evaluate me. Tell me what you think. And they're like, well, I say what the truth is, they don't listen to me. And then I say, and something negative, and that's all they listen to. And then I tell them the truth. I said, you have just failed. Because you just forgot the 3 things that will make you a fortune, and all you're worried about is this one thing. Yeah, fix the problem. And I think everybody knows what the problem is. But do you know what is good? And elevate that.
Yeah, and Tommy, isn't it? I mean, there's some risk involved there, right? Some trial and error. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, you can ask people, and you know, you could ask 20 customers, and then you think you've determined the need. You try this out, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah, but and you can do it in controlled settings. And if you talk to people, you know, if enough people say something, maybe you got to listen. But at least you're aware of it. You're aware of whatever the flaw is, and then you can evaluate whether or what type of change you need to make. So feedback, don't get me wrong, feedback is precious. It can be very expensive. I'm not going to say go out and hire anybody. I'm not saying do or don't. You can do your own, and then you can make these tweaks and make these changes. But I would absolutely listen to the customer, but I'd listen for good things that are happening, and I would change the bad things that you're doing, maybe. I've been fussed at, people argue with me. Why do I write on the board? Okay, I teach in a big classroom of 1,000 people. So classroom of 1,700, well, that's back up until recently. And I use a whiteboard. I went and bought a whiteboard this size because I don't use PowerPoint. And they're like, use PowerPoint. We can't read your handwriting. And I'm like, I can't use PowerPoint. And if you care, you'll love this. I said, if you care, squint from the back. So that's my thing. If you care, squint from the back of the room. And all I write in a lecture is this. No more than 6 words. I said, on your way out, take a picture. And they're like, you got to do this PowerPoint. I'm like, I get it. I should. But I don't think me switching to PowerPoint is going to make my lecture or make me better. Now, maybe I speak better. Maybe I sound better. Maybe my content's better. That I need to improve. But if they say unanimously switch to PowerPoint, and I know PowerPoint is not how I've ever taught, and maybe I need to clean up my handwriting a little bit. Maybe I clean up my handwriting a little bit, but I don't toss what is special to me and put in something that, even though they may be right, it doesn't work for me. So you got to use your judgment so they don't chase you away from something that you were doing well. And then when it's time to release and let go of something, then you release and let go of something. If it's just that, if it's bad. I don't think this is life or death in a class presentation. I just don't. I know PowerPoint would be my death if I did it.
I agree.
Now, if I ramble too much like I'm doing tonight, I probably need to shorten it. So in your world, think about where improvements can be made, but also think about what you're doing well and elevate.
Tommy, so Daniel, you can wave Daniel so he knows who you are. He's, when you're talking about, determining the customer's needs, what happens when you have to sell to them before you even meet them? Daniel, can you expound on your business a little bit so Tommy can get a better understanding or your idea?
Yeah, basically what I'm talking about is
Okay.
Can you get a little closer to the microphone? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yeah.
hear that?
A little bit better. Okay.
Okay. In my game, I get the people on the phone. They're calling and they want to look for price and they want to, tell me how the other guy's going to do it for less and so on and so forth. And so I basically have to sell them my services before I ever even know who they are, where they're at, and when they need me to be there. And so I don't have the luxury of taking them to the game.
No, of course not. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens if, what's another way to counter that so I can, because it's hard for me to do any kind of advertising or anything else because of that. I have to sell them. I have to get them. Once I got them on the phone, if I don't sell them, I lost them.
Do you make the sell over the phone or will you then go visit them?
No, I have to make that because usually what they're doing is they're either buying their house for the first time and they're anxious or there's a deadline on their escrow closure. So they have to have this done by X amount of time or they lose the sale altogether. So now I have the realtor, the customer, and the seller and the buyer all panicked because they have to have this done right away. So I have to come up with a price and get in and out of there before that time expires or the whole deal is lost.
And this is by phone?
Yes. Before I've never even met anyone yet.
So I'm sorry. Tell me. So what's your business? I'm a little confused. Tell me your business.
I'm a home inspector. I inspect commercial and residential properties, and I do insurance surveys and
okay.
Work.
Okay. And so
I have to sell it before I ever met anybody, before I even know where my money's going to come from.
You have to sell what? I'm sorry. Your services?
I have to sell myself.
That you're going to be the home inspector.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. So you're on the phone. They never met you. Do I go with Daniel to come do my home inspection or not?
Right. How do I do that?
I think you need to slow down and take your time when you're on the phone and not be so desperate. I think you got no. What I mean by that is it's like you're on the phone. You think the clock is ticking and you got to do it in like 2 minutes. I think this is where personal branding comes in, Daniel. I think I know time is of the essence. You don't want to sit on the phone and ramble like I do, but you want to be able. You have to be able to build that argument, that influential argument. You've got to say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, thank you so much. I'm Daniel with this company. I'd love to help you. This is what I do all the time. I have plenty of time to get over there to you. My staff were very good. As you know, whatever we do this many a week. And let me explain to you, if I can, what I can provide for you. I think you've got to build up a little pattern of trust, and you got to enhance your credibility in that opening minute or two while you're talking to them. I think exactly the way you sounded to me just now, with that genuineness in your voice, you got to apply that to your expertise. You are a home inspector, correct?
Correct.
And you're good.
The best.
Okay, but you got to prove you're the best. How many you look, I do this for these, I've been doing this for X number of years. Of course, if you need my credentials there, I can send them to you, but we can get in, we can get out. I've dealt with these banks, and I can get this done to where I take the pressure off of you, and you'll have a written report in your hands in X number of days. It's not, I hate to say a sales pitch, but it is this perfect pitch where you don't rush it. You don't rush it, and you tell them, y'all know what credibility is, class? Credibility is not just trust. Credibility is 3 prongs. Credibility is trust that you're going to do the good job, Daniel. You don't fudge on it. You don't over embellish it. That's good. The other is your expertise. You're one of the leaders in that town in doing this, and your track record shows it. And your position. You are the owner of the company? Are you the owner of the company, or you work for the company, or? So if you're so I'm the owner of this company.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm the owner of this company. I've been around for so many years. I do this. It's all we do. And I deal with all the banks, and my reports are always going to be, they're going to be authentic, and never have these reports influenced by anybody. So what you're going to get is going to be a thorough and a very helpful inspection. You've got to do that at the beginning. And then you ask them, how can I help you? That would be my approach. Based upon what you're telling me, and a lot of this stuff can be done on the phone. I think people rush too much, and then don't ramble and wear them out, but you've got to enhance your credibility. You've got to be able to let them know you can do the work, you're trustworthy, and you're an expert in that field. That, my friends, is credibility piece. Everybody, the word is so misused, but it may be the most powerful word and concept in all of selling. So I would try that.
I think perfecting, and I think times like perfecting a 90-second pitch, like something you can say right at the beginning of your phone call.
Yeah, but it can't sound rehearsed.
Yeah.
So it's like, listen, Dan, I know
That's
you're
very important.
Listen, Dan, I know you're in a hurry. I understand that, and I know you're panicking. I understand that, but that's where I come in. I love working with people in this situation because I can settle you down. I've been doing this for 14 years. I work with all the big banks in town and all the real estate companies. So even though everything else is moving slowly, we move fast, but we're very efficient. We'll get you your report in time. So you don't want it to be a button that you push and it becomes mechanical. But you do have to have, but you do have to have an idea of how you can react to this person across from you, so that you can give them the confidence that you can get this job done. So 90 seconds or so. I'd probably keep it a little bit shorter than that. Not that time matters, but it's just a clean message, and it changes with every person on the other side of the phone.
My work always does. Everybody's different.
He said his work always does change, and everybody's different. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's the beauty of it. Again, we're going back to this personal branding thing. You got to adapt to the different people. If somebody's panicking, I can settle you down. If somebody, you got to be able to adapt to that person. I think relate to that person on the other side of the phone. And the only way you can relate, and I don't want to go back to this boring little chart I put up here in a tone of voice, but one of the greatest influential weapons you can have in sales and in negotiation, I believe, is the ability to pause a little bit and get them to hang on to the next word you're going to say. Because I've been talking now for way too long. And this is the first time I've paused. It's the first time y'all paid attention to me. So anyway, the pause is gold. You learn to pause, and it's not a forgetful pause. You learn to pause. They'll then hang on to whatever the next words are. So Daniel, think, and everybody else, think about that when you're talking to somebody on phone or in person, and see the impact it makes.
Thanks so much, Tommy. We've got one last question from Nick. So Nick, go ahead and unmute and feel free, ask away.
Unmute. Here I am. All right. Obviously I need to work on speaking, clearly. But I'm an IT technician, mobile IT technician, company of one, and basically I talked to a Northern Arizona SCORE person, and I've been having trouble just getting multiple clients because I'm new to the area. There's more established companies. He had suggested that I approach probably some over 55 companies because that's basically the demographic that I'm going after. Some of the phone calls that I've made to management, it's usually just like a quick 1-minute call. I kind of get blown off with those phone calls, and I'm trying to, I don't know, trying to see the best way to present like a subcontract to someone in management there. And it seems like probably the best thing I should do is go see them face to face. And I was just wondering what I don't know, what advice you would have.
My advice is absolutely face to face.
Yeah.
My advice is remembering this personal branding thing. When you go there, they're going to look miserable.
Yeah.
And don't react to their misery or their boredom with you. And then, if I might suggest this, I don't know if this is appropriate. I mean, not appropriate. It's appropriate. I don't know if it's right.
Do it.
Offer to demonstrate what you can do for them.
Okay.
Give me. I would love to demonstrate my talent and my skill in this. If you have a project for me, I don't know how much these projects run you. If you can do it, if you can give them a comp opportunity,
right?
If you can audition for them, if you will, I think that would be. From there, I think you'll call me one day and say thank you. And nobody wants to do things for free. I live for free. I encourage. If it costs you something, but this doesn't cost you anything. It costs you your time.
Okay.
You know,
so offer like a demo or a class or something.
Yeah. Let me show. Give me a project. I want to show you what I can do.
Okay.
And then you'll get the project done. That's easy. That's what you do. Correct?
That's right.
Okay. No disrespect. Everybody in your business does that.
Right.
But what's the trick? The speed, the efficiency in replying to every question they have. Because in IT, they'll tell you this and you know this. The customer is at a disadvantage. You're going to, even though it's going to be a demo, it's going to be free, it's going to be a trial. You're going to be polite. You got to be polite, you know that, but you're going to be quick. You're going to be quick with the follow-up. You're going to be quick with the response. You're going to be quick with changing the date to another date. I think that would be it. If you knock on the door and you have, about the credibility enhancement, have you done this anywhere that they can say you're good?
Yes.
Okay. You just got to come with that. So I don't think you're somebody who's, doing something. Just come with just say, look, I've worked at this company. I would love to show you. I'm trying to do what you just did with me. I'm trying to gain entry in this industry. I come to this area and here are a couple of companies I've worked with. You can give them a call if you wish. I would love to show you what I can do. If there's some project or whatever it is in your industry, I'd love for you to give me that chance. Of everything I've said tonight, I feel so comfortable that will lead to an opportunity for you to demonstrate what you can do, which will open the door to small opportunities that can grow.
And then, can I ask just a quick follow-up?
Of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, in terms of a subcontract, I do have a list of services, advanced services. Should I be prepared to have something that's, pre-formatted, or like with management, like I've worked at a retirement home when I was a federal work study at a college. So I have experience with that, working with that clientele and working with these places. But I was thinking of approaching them to where I would show them the services that I had and let them pick the services, or should I have something, I would offer this?
Yeah, you need to have that area of expertise that not everybody does.
Right.
I mean, you can do everything, of course, but You want to go there with this. Okay, I'll use this. I maybe, forgive me, I don't know your industry that well, but let's say you do the homes, the elderly homes, and you're the IT guy for them. Is that it?
Well, that's part of my experience there.
So
I also do cybersecurity and stuff like that, but I live in Prescott Valley, Arizona, so there is a big 55 and over population here.
Yeah,
so.
right. So my specialty is dealing with these people 55 and older, and I know the number one thing they need is instant.
Mm-hmm.
And I specialize in instant. And the day's not going to come when they can't communicate with their loved ones somewhere away. I'm there. Let me show you how I can provide them and be available to you to provide them with in IT the quickest service, the most reliable service for these people who depend upon what? They depend on one thing: get in touch with their loved ones, or they got to tell them something. I would think.
Yeah.
And if you're that guy who can provide that business with this service for their very, very wealthy 55 and older, I think that's I hate to say niche, but that's a specialty that you can provide them. I wouldn't give them a bunch. I would tell them, what do you do and what do you do best?
Right. Okay.
So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, play with that. Play with that. One thing you can provide them, others may be able to, but make that your number one pitch with that organization.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey, Tommy, I accidentally, I skipped over a question accidentally from someone. Do you mind if do you got time for one more?
Sure.
If any of you in the class have to go, I understand. We'll just be a couple more minutes, but I wanted to get to Josh's question. Josh, go ahead and unmute. You can ask your question. Thanks.
You could ask it for me, Deanna, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling on all cylinders here. So Josh is wondering, really, if I'm looking at the right one. It was a half joke but half real. So when you were talking about spending money on your customers, Josh is looking at procurement and in companies, procuring companies. So when he's talking about trying to find customers, what is the value in spending money on a customer to smooth them over, so to speak, to get their business? Then he used a little joke, like taking them to see a real football team play at OSU Stadium.
It's not a bad idea. It's not. And when I said, maybe I remember my football example was more demonstrating how benefits can offset costs. But I think there's a value of being nice to people and developing these relationships. I don't know if there has to be a big cost involved. I don't think I'm not a big fan of a big cost. Big dinners, I'm not a big fan of. Outings, I'm not a big. I mean, I think they're wonderful, but I think what I would do, the style I would create if I were you, is being there for them and a cup of coffee or a visit with them. Remembering them or just calling them. I think maybe taking them somewhere. An LSU game, OU game. Well, I'm just kidding, but those are good. But I don't think you necessarily have to have that. I think the little gestures of appreciation are enormous. And so I would invest heavily in maintaining contact with your clientele. Absolutely. And I don't think there's a big cost involved. Everybody's time. I'm not a big advocate of time is money. We have time. Y'all are healthy. Your time is the greatest weapon you have. And I'm looking at y'all's default look. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The guy I just did the cyber thing with, and I'm looking at Josh. So y'all popped up, and then Daniel. When y'all are talking to me, your default looks are so warm and engaging. I love it. And I'm not trying to flatter you. Those are the only ones who pop up on my screen that I see right now. You take that in front of somebody. You do that consistently for that somebody. And you cultivate that relationship. That's Josh. That's what they're going to remember.
Yeah, and I appreciate your answer. I really like it because I haven't made any money yet. So I like your answer.
I wouldn't spend. I don't take. I have access to. I'm blessed. I have access to a lot of LSU stuff, and I guess I'm just not a good businessman. If I brought somebody on the field at LSU, I get every business in the world I wanted. Pre-game at LSU, it's a guarantee. but I don't do it. I don't do it. And that's bad, probably bad business. I would rather them know that if we can do something, I can help you, and I'll always be here to help you. And others can do it as better, probably better than me. But I'm gonna be there, and you need me at last minute, you call me. If I can help you, and not everything is about $1, I'll do that. I think that's part of what everybody in this room has to be able to learn to create. Money is important. Don't give it away. I'm not saying that. You need to make it. I get that. But the greatest, and that's why to me personal branding is so important. And everybody's got to be able to create their own style. So we're doing it real fast. But while y'all ask me, stay on a little bit longer. So we're doing some work now with in our sports business. We're trying to figure out something for the anyway. And one guy has made a fortune, and he's the he does sales for the Texas Rangers. And he does all the big the big corporations, the big $30-40 million. He will spend 5 months with the client from this company before he ever says, oh, by the way, would your company like to be a sponsor of the Texas Rangers? 5 months. Now, what does he do in 5 months? I don't know. He's going to come talk to our class and tell us. But he says he will not breathe. Now, the guy knows he's going to ask him for money one day, but he doesn't even talk about the commitment to become a sponsor of the Texas Rangers. He spends 5 months. Now, he works some people who will do some nice things, but not free tickets. They may send a nice, they do some stuff, but it's just being a good, this is corny, it's being a caring friend or cultivating a caring relationship when you know one day you're going to ask them for something. And if they say no, Josh, if they say no, and this is to everybody here, I'm going to end with this. Do me this one favor. If they say no, still be nice to them afterwards. If you give them a free demo for a month and they say no, go back and say thanks anyway. Because sales, I don't do. Personal branding, I do. Marketing, I do. But the killer in sales, we wine them and dine them until they say yes, and then we're nice. And we wine them and dine them until they say no, and we never speak to them again. You want to create a legacy in your industry? Let your personal brand and that great style and interact. I mean, spend a little bit of money. Maybe give them a cup of coffee. I don't know, take them for a ride. I don't know. You do, there's stuff you can do. But when you do ask and they say no, think of your follow-up to that. And again, that's a great assignment you can give them one day. What is their follow-up after you've cultivated a relationship and it ends in a no?
That's great. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Look, thank y'all. Y'all are great. As Dan, if y'all ever need me for something, my answer is ramble, and I apologize. But if you ever need me, just give me a holler. Y'all got she'll give y'all my email, my telephone, my flip phone.
I will share Tommy's email with everyone.
Not that you need me, but the biggest thing, I keep going back to this. Every answer I gave y'all, every question you asked, I'm not saying this is the answer. It has to stem from this base that you are what they're after. Because in every industry, everything you do, somebody else does it just as well. It's called competition. And so all things equal, where do we usually go? We usually go where there's warmth and there's a person we can deal with, there's a person we can complain to, there's a person who we can nag, there's a person we can put in change orders in, there's a person who we can get confused with, and that person remains calm and they look engaging. And then when the decision is made, they side with you. Love y'all. Do your homework. Thank you so much.
Great. Make sure you do that default look homework, everyone. And for those of you watching, try it in the mirror, not the mirror, but the mirror. So thanks so much, Tommy. I will share when Sandra posts the recorded video online. I will put Tommy's email within that as well as the announcement. And then just to remind you for next week, we will be having Josh Schultz with us. Josh Schultz is a supply chain specialist. He has his business was actually supply chain. He just recently sold his business. He had business in Mexico and in the US, sold both of them. Is now in Austin, Texas, starting on some new ventures. So he's a lot like Ken Davenport, where he's done a couple of different businesses, kind of a lifelong entrepreneur, and so can answer a lot of those general questions as well, but really going to focus on supply chain, procurement, things like that for next week, and talk about, delivering the value of, actually coming through delivery, and all that's in that and detailed in that. I will send out an email next week. The activity for next week can get kind of confusing. It's called the beer game. So I'm going to send out some helpful tips and resources. I'm sorry, I won't say I'll send out an email, but I'll post it as an announcement. That's the easiest way in Blackboard. So I'll do all of that. You probably get enough emails, so I'll just stick to Blackboard. In the meantime, if y'all need anything, I'm here. Just reach out to me via email. And thank you. Turn in your homework. Sandra, thank you for that. And I will see you all next week. Have a very good and hopefully relaxing weekend, holiday weekend, and happy Labor Day. So we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank y'all. Appreciate everything. Thank you.
So,